Hey guys, how you doing this week? I don't really I don't think like a subject of advice or anything, but I made this piece that I want to talk about a little bit. It was a Valentine's Day piece, and at least in the art community's sort of independent, fan art, I guess, art circles that I'm in, event pieces are a really big thing, both for, nice social media engagement. And also, it's just like kind of a fun thing to do with like your OCs, your favorite characters, whatnot. So I decided to do a Valentine's Day piece. I did a Christmas piece as well, featuring one of my newest characters from All Kill. This is Yeonwoo, who is the face of the group. But I wanted to do something a little bit different, and I wanted to continue to challenge myself as I sort of have been, I guess, building up a desire to do. So I decided to take things in a different direction. This is not your typical Valentine's Day piece, even though it really does look like it right now. I really wanted to try and tackle the horror genre with this one, which is not really something you're feeling on Valentine's Day typically, but it fit the mood of the character, and it fit sort of the aim of All Kill, which is sort of a monster girl K-pop group. But I hadn't really done any like straight up horror pieces with them, so that's partially why I chose Yeonwoo. I think she's the perfect kind of character to tackle a horror genre, despite having other characters who are like serial killers and demons and spirits and things like that. Yeonwoo is potentially one of the most dangerous out of the bunch. She is a Korean nine-tailed fox demon called a gumiho, and she likes collecting hearts, like human hearts. That's kind of her thing. So thought Valentine's Day would be the perfect chance to kind of showcase that aspect of her. And the way I wanted to do it was by sort of inverting people's expectations. I wanted to build up a sense of security and safety by leading the piece with this sort of like friendly, common kind of Valentine's Day imagery, holding out a heart, being like, smile on her face and everything like that. So it looks pretty standard Valentine stuff for now, but that's literally just kind of playing into the trope to then be able to reverse it later, which is where hopefully something a little bit more frightening comes out. This is my first time trying to do something scary, and it's not supposed to be like, it's not give you nightmares scary. It's more supposed to be kind of like a funny horror thing, like a surprise, I guess. It's not actually scary itself, but but that's also because that's what her character does. Is she's sort of like a seductress. She leads you into this false sense of security, and then boom, before you know it, she's got your heart. So here we have her holding a heart, but very soon that's going to change and take a little bit of a darker twist, which I do right about here. Ooh, adding that final sort of pink overlay to lighten things up a little bit more is nice. And then we immediately get into sort of a change in her personality and her demeanor. She's got her trademark glowing yellow eyes when she's putting her spell on you. And I decided to change the heart into a human heart. It's like a cute sort of inversion of expectations there. Again, it's not like super scary, but it's a little bit, it's just like a fun little a bit of is that something I can call fun and little? I don't know. And there's a couple of sort of aspects that I gathered from like traditional horror that I tried to use here to kind of sell it a little bit. The first one is realistic heart rendering. Hearts are not red. They're mostly yellow. They're covered in like fatty tissue and stuff like that. And I think that actually helps sell the image like a lot more than if I just went with red. And I think it looks way more effective that way. Other thing, classic horror trope. We are designed to sort of read faces with a top-down light as if it's coming from the sun or something like that. So when we see a face lit with unnatural conditions, say under lighting or in this case, the light is literally coming from her eyes. It's very unsettling, and sort of psychologically, there's something sort of like deep-seated in us that lets us know like something's wrong here. So those are sort of two aspects I combined. And then I tinted everything else around her yellow because the light source is yellow, so everything else should kind of reflect that. Adding in some specular highlights here. And that's just pure white to kind of bring out the more liquidous aspects of, make things seem a little bit more wet, you know? Because you got a heart, and it's not dry. Plenty of blood, you know, to spice things up. And this is where I start to take the piece. This is the first piece I knew I wanted to animate it, but I don't know how to animate it. So I decided to take two static images and combine them with some camera movement and some transition effects to create a sense of motion. And I wanted to replicate kind of the visual novel dating sim experience with it. So what I'm doing here is I'm just taking the image, doing a slow pan up and moving the camera around a little bit of a slight wobbly cam, but like very slow pace to just represent like a gazing unfocused eye. And I literally defocus it at several points to represent like blinks or, you know, things like that. It's all stuff that I've seen before in like anime visual novels. And this is a visual language that I'm just trying to replicate. But it's my first time doing any of this, so I have a lot of my animation process is doing something, trying to add some effects to it, and realizing that messed up something else because I did the process wrong, having to redo it. I think I redid this initial camera pan like 15 times, not just from trying to get it to look right, but also because I had to messed it up and had to redo it several times. But eventually I got a nice solid workflow down, and I hope to do more stuff kind of like this, especially with All Kill, because I think one of the fun things about All Kill is their sort of duality of being a K-pop girl group that are also, you know, like monstrous. And I think that's kind of a fun area to explore. And a piece like this, I think, communicates both of those aspects of them very, very effectively. And I'm actually super proud of how it turned out. So this is where we get to the transition stage, where she kind of reveals her true nature. And a lot of it's the same. There's a lot of camera panning, and but before that, there's got to be a transition between the two. During All Kill's debut stages, I used a lot of glitchy effects for things like distorted teaser images and little bits and pieces on my stream during like the starting soon screen and things like that. I used a distortion effect that simulated a kind of glitching out, and I decided to reuse that here. One, out of laziness, and two, because I knew it would look good. It's, you know, something I've done before, and I know it would serve as an effective transition between these 2 points, because specifically it's the same image, just with different lighting conditions applied to it. So that's the way I decided to go. And then I decided to, this footage actually is unfortunately lost. The program crashed on me before I could finish recording it, but I decided to do the similar camera pans that we had in the first half of it, but a lot more frantic, a lot more disorganized, and a lot faster to kind of simulate that sense of panic and everything else that came with it. So we got the transition down here, and we're starting with our pans. You can see they're a lot quicker, but then the program crashes and the rest of the footage is lost. So the last things to do were to add some titling. That was like pretty simple. There's not much to talk about there. And choose a soundtrack. I got the original soundtrack from Stream Beats for the first half, and the second, and I also added a little a giggle in there as well to just kind of like really ham up that sort of like dating sim aspect to it. And then in the second part, I chose the Danganronpa body discovery announcement, because when I heard it, I played through all of those games recently, and when I heard that, and when I was making this piece, I just thought back to that sound, and I was like, that would be perfect for this scenario of like just panic, chaos, and disorganization, and horrifying, you know, gore and things like that. So I decided to use the Danganronpa body discovery announcement, and it fit the exact amount of time I needed it to. The animation sound, the animation was 15 seconds long, and the sound clip was 15 seconds long as well. So it was really a match made in heaven there. But without further ado, I guess it's time to show you guys the finished product. And thank you guys for checking this out. It was super fun to make. Definitely one of my most ambitious projects. I'm super proud that I was able to finish it in time. And yeah, here is Yeonwoo on Valentine's Day. So thanks again for checking out this video, and if you enjoyed it, please feel free to give a like or a comment. Really would love to hear your feedback, what you thought about it. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it, and as much as I enjoyed making this video. And if you want to see other art videos and other content coming soon, it's gonna be, I'm gonna have some more, you know, lifestyle things as well. Just gonna try and mix up my content a little bit to not be purely art, because to be honest, I don't have that much advice to give. I'm still pretty new in my journey. So if you want to see more, I'm still going to do our videos, don't worry. So if you want to see more of that, and if you want to see some new, fresh stuff too, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It really helps me out, and it really helps with the algorithm as well. And I'll see you guys later. Peace.